All right, we're going to our second lesson in chapter 8. So chapter 8 is all about energy use over time. So in this lesson specifically, we're going to talk about how energy is used just in general. So learning objective is that you'll be able to describe the different ways energy is used in different countries depending on their development. So, to maintain their style of living, individuals in the United States use about twice as much energy as people in France, Germany, or Japan, and about 3 times more energy than the people in China, and 13 times more energy than the people in India. We are a very large country with a lot of people, and while France, Germany, and Japan are also, developed countries with lots of people, they're a lot more like condensed. It's a much denser population. In the US, we're very spread out, and we like big houses, big cars, big lawns, and all of that takes a lot of energy. So the only country on this list that uses more energy than us is Canada. So Canada uses the most, then the United States, then Australia, then France, then Germany, then Japan. All of those are considered more developed countries. And then for our less developed countries, we have China, Mexico, Brazil, Egypt, India, and Bangladesh. They all use pretty significantly less energy than we do. So industrialized nations use energy roughly equally for residential and commercial uses, industrial uses, and transportation. What that means is kind of like a third of it goes to residential and commercial, a third goes to industrial, and a third goes to transportation. It's pretty spread over those things. So we're not just using it for dire needs, we are using it for extra things as well. In less developed countries, most of the energy that they use is for residential purposes. And by that, I mean for cooking and heating. It is basic needs. They need to have a warm place and they need to cook their food. That is where most of their energy is going to go towards. Well, developing countries use most of their energy to develop industry. So we kind of have our 3 different types of countries here. We have our developed, our less developed, and in the middle, those countries that are working on becoming more developed. So if they're less developed, cooking and heating, that's a priority. That's where their energy is going. If they're working on becoming a developed country, then a lot of their energy is going towards industry, into industrializing, getting more factories, getting more cities, doing all of those things. Whereas developed countries that are done developing, we use it on transportation, we use it on industry, we use it residentially. All right, in the US, 16% of the energy is used for residential and 14% is for commercial. In India, 29% of energy is for residential and 4% is for commercial. And in Canada, 60% of residential energy is used for heating. That's part of the reason why Canada, on that graph we looked at before, had a much higher energy use. They need to warm their homes more than a lot of people in the US do, because it tends to be a little bit colder up there. In Africa and Asia, a lot of the household energy is used for cooking, and that comes from wood. So that would be a biomass source of energy. It is from something that was living, burning wood. It's, fire-heated houses, and they're cooking a lot of their food over fire. And recent estimates suggest that the information technology portion of the economy consumes about 10% of the world's electrical energy supply. So not just the energy in industrialized country, but out of all of the energy that we use in the world, about 10% is going to the information technology portion of the economy, which is kind of crazy. The amount of energy countries use for industrial processes varies considerably. So we can't just look at every country and it's the same. It's different, it's quite a bit different country to country. So countries that are developing new industries, so they're working on becoming more industrialized, dedicate a high percentage of their energy to use them. So China, which is becoming more industrialized, devotes over 50% of their energy to industrial processes, lots of factories. Brazil devotes about 35% of their energy use to industrial purposes. And highly industrialized countries use a significant amount of their energy in industry, but their energy use is high in other sectors as well. So US is considered highly industrialized. We still use a lot of our energy for industry, but it's not 50% of that energy going just to industry. Transportation is another really big sector where we use a lot of energy. So per capita energy use for transportation is high in developing countries and highest in highly developed countries. We use a lot of energy to move and travel. The specific combination of bus, rail, waterways, and private automobiles is the main factor in determining a country's energy use for transportation. Remember, when we talk about energy, a lot of the times we think, okay, we're talking about like electricity. We are talking about any sort of energy. It could be biomass, so burning wood or any kind of biofuel. It could be burning gas, burning oil, burning natural gas, or generating electricity. All of those are types of energy. So driving your car, that is using energy. In countries with high population densities, rail and bus transport are particularly efficient. The US is not so great usually with our public transport, but again, we are a little less dense than some of the other developed countries. We are a lot more spread out. So if we look at how different Americans get to work, most of us drive alone. We don't like to share our space. We like to have our cars so we can go where we want when we want. So most of us drive alone. Some people carpool. 5% only takes to public transport. If we look at other industrialized countries, that public transport section is going to be a lot bigger. 5% work from home. This is from 2018. In 2020, COVID rolled through. I would think that this percentage is going to be significantly higher than it used to be. About 3% walk to work, some take a taxi, and then a very small percentage of them bike. All right, so if we're looking at electrical energy specifically, because the transportation of electrical energy is so simple, it's a lot easier. You don't have to put it in a truck to then drive somewhere like you do with oil or natural gas, or use pipes, create the pipes like you do for natural gas. And it can also be used for a lot of varied things. Electricity is a major form in which energy is supplied to most people in the world, or a lot of people in the world. We like to use electricity. It's super simple. We can just flip light switches. It's batteries, all of that. It's a lot easier than just dealing with fire from burning biomass or from oil or natural gas. And electricity can be produced in a lot of different ways. And countries differ widely on how they generate that electricity. So this is the source of electricity in different countries. Iceland is almost fully hydroelectricity. So they are fully renewable over there. India, lots of fossil fuels. Japan, lots of fossil fuels. China, US, Germany, a lot of fossil fuels. Orange is nuclear. France uses a lot of nuclear energy. Blue is hydroelectricity. We get a good little chunk. And then the green is other renewables. So there are other countries that use a lot more renewables than we do. But we will talk specifically about non-renewable and renewable energy in our next chapters. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will see you in the next one.